All right, so we're actually going to rename this segment. It's not going to be a rest in peace anymore. It's not going to be in memoriam. It's actually going to be a rest in power segment where we actually celebrate some of the fallen baseball players. And we have two tonight, and they should be remembered because they had a big part in baseball. And the first one is not the big hurt Frank Thomas.
Wait, not the big hurt Al Jepson.
It is not. No, he is still with us. This is Frank Thomas. This is the outfielder, third baseman, born in 1929 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and died in 2023 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As you see here, he was a Pirate. His debut was 51 for the Pirates. His last game was in 66 for the Cubs. He had a lifetime batting average of 266. Ironically, 286 home runs, 962 runs batted in. He played with the Pirates, the Reds, the Cubs, the Braves, the Mets. So, and we'll definitely talk about that. He played with in 65, he played for the Phillies. He played for the Astros. He played for the Braves. And then again, the Cubs, 4 teams in 66, he played for the Cubs.
But that's interesting because back in these days, players were not being shuffled around that much either.
Right.
And then again, this is a guy who played, what year did you say he come up? 51?
51.
Wow, that's a 15-year career. Wow.
Yeah.
You don't get shipped around that much back in these days.
Yeah, he was a 3-time All-Star in 54, 55, and 58.
Yes.
He was actually known as the original Met. He was acquired in the expansion draft by the Mets and hit 34 home runs and 94 RBIs for them in his first season.
But you're jumping ahead. I want to talk a little bit about what I found out. # do the research. So when he was coming up with the Pirates, he was kind of known as being, I dare say, a rebel rouser. Ooh, look at this. So he was a guy who tried to stand up for himself, and when it came to making money, and apparently back in these days, that was not looked upon very well. So, and actually, when he was coming up with the Pirates, let's see. So he actually went down to the minor leagues in 52 in New Orleans, believe it or not. And he got paid $6,000 when he was with New Orleans. And he requested an additional $1,000 when he re-signed with the Pirates in 53. So you might have heard of the guy who was running the Pirates. This name, what's his Twig Rickey? Is that his name? Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey. Ricky's response was said to be, quote, "I can't pay major league salaries to minor league players."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. When he requested literally an extra $1,000, from $6,000 to $7,000. So the Pirates manager, Mr. Haney, was that Mr. I'm sorry, Fred Haney. I was thinking Mr. Haney. Sorry. Fred Haney said he said, "You'll get to prove yourself." And Frank Thomas in 53 hit 30 home runs, 102 RBIs, and the Pirates were not good in the 50s. They were not a good team. And he became a regular after Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner got traded to the Cubs. And here's the interesting part. So they played at Ford's Field in Pittsburgh, if memory serves me correct. So something interesting that they had in right field was they had something called Kiner's Corner. Are you aware of this, Michael Mondragon?
I am. It
was previously known as Greenberg Gardens. So what happened was they made this area where they literally shortened the outfield fences by 30 feet from 365 to 335. And that's why it's called Kiner's Corner, because he would just bomb home runs over that way.
Right.
So when Frank Thomas came in, they got rid of that area of Kiner's Corner when Kiner left it. And they just opened it back up to be 365. Thomas figured later that had the shorter wall remained, his home run totals would have doubled, and most likely he would have finished his career of more than 500.
Oh, wow.
How about that? How about that? Because again, you said he was with the Pirates until what year did he leave the Pirates? Do you have that, Andy?
He was 51 to 58.
Yes. So think about that. Yeah. And the wall, because I just love him on these tangents. The Pirates pitching staff obviously did not like it either. There was a pitcher named Murray Dixon who was 66 and 85 with the Pirates from 49 to 53 once said, with some justification, the Greensfield Gardens was largely responsible for my record. So you gotta love that. Just the logistics of a baseball stadium, how much of a difference it can make for him. But one thing I love too is that he fought Branch Rickey again, saying like, "I'm a major leaguer now, and I want to be paid accordingly." And Frank asked him how much he wanted, and Rickey asked him. He said, Frank said, "I want $15,000," and that did not go over well.
Wow.
And he says, "You go along with my offer of $12,500. If you have another good year, I'll take good care of you." And against his better judgment, Thomas accepted that. And the next year, 54, 298, 23 home runs, 94 RBIs. Great season. He went to Rickey and for a substantial increase. And remember, he said it was 12.5. What did Branch Rickey come back with? 15 grand.
Wow.
And then he was then compared negatively with Ralph Kiner. And then Thomas says online, he said, "If you want to compare me, give me the same opportunity. Put back the Greenberg Gardens, and I'll hit you 50 home runs because I can tattoo the scoreboard." I love that this guy, and he actually held out the 55 season. He did not play for a while.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. You just think about this. I love just reading stuff like this. And he actually held out. Rickey warned him, "Go ahead and hold out. I'll keep you out of baseball for 5 years." That's what Branch Rickey said. One thing I loved, I didn't know, apparently a nickname for Branch Rickey was El Cheapo. I love it. I just love this. I need Cowboy Jack. Cowboy Jack would be all over this. And Thomas succeeded getting the team's offer up to $18,000, and then he signed.
Wow.
And it's funny because then that year was his only real bad year, and he still hit 25 home runs, but batted like 245. But again, he had a very good, solid career. And his best year is 58 with 35 home runs and 109 RBIs. And he said he ended up going to the Mets. Now, do you have the notes for me that he was in the expansion draft, right? Is that why he was the first Met?
Yeah. And so what does it say here? After being acquired by the expansion New York Mets, he led the team with 34 home runs and 94 RBIs in their first season in 62. His hitting declined after that year, and he ended up playing for 5 clubs in his last 3 seasons. But you told me that he actually played in the recent Old Timers game. I don't know if he played, but he appeared there. He appeared, yeah. I'm sorry.
He appeared at the Old Timers game in 2022 for the Mets. If you go see the list, it was. I feel like it was every person who ever played on the Mets. So it was like 100 names on that list. And he was on that list. I'm going, oh my gosh, I thought that when I saw a list again, I'm like, oh my gosh, he was still there. And he passed away at 90, 93 when how old he was.
Yeah.
He passed away. It's crazy.
He actually suffered a fall in fall of 2021. Wow. And despite the fall, he was well enough to attend that. He attended the game. He did not.
Oh, good. He was there. Oh, that's good. That's very good to hear.
Yeah. And as much as, I actually hate this segment because we're talking about someone who's passed away. But I love celebrating their accomplishment and just talking about them in general. There was another person here, and if Cowboy Jack was here, I would ask him where he played college baseball. Arizona State. He actually played for Arizona State. Let me look at the notes here. He played, he attended Arizona State, where this is Sal Bando, played baseball under Bobby Winkles, who was a Hall of Fame college coach. It was a member of the 1965 College World Series champion and was named College World Series Most Outstanding Player.
Right.
And eventually went to the Oakland A's, where he's probably best known for his baseball career.
Now, let me add one thing, too. So, Arizona State, he actually is in the College Baseball Hall of Fame as well.
That's right. We've been talking about a lot about that at the College Baseball Hall of Fame. So he's his Major League Baseball statistics, 254 lifetime batting average, 242 home runs, 1,039 RBIs, played for the Kansas City and Oakland Athletics from 66 to 76, Milwaukee Brewers from 77 to 81. That's actually where I know him, because I remember when I first started getting into baseball card collecting, Sal Bando was on the 79 or 78, baseball cards. He was a 4-time All-Star, averaged 23 home runs and 90 runs batted in his last 8 years in Oakland. Often overshadowed by his contemporary, who was Brooks Robinson.
Oh yeah, I played third base. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have? I know he made the All-Star team a few times. He actually started once over Brooks, and that's something. Because if you ever seen Brooks Robinson, his nickname was a human vacuum cleaner for a reason. You know?
Yes, he was a 4-time All-Star, 69, 72, 73, and 74.
And that's right at the peak of the A's. And if you see there, it says Captain Sal. He actually was named the captain of the Athletics. I don't remember the exact year, but he only been 25 years old when they named him the captain of that team. Because at that time, you had Reggie Jackson was just coming up. You had, I think, a very young Catfish Hunter.
Yeah. Gene Tennis.
Gene Tennis was catching. You had, I think, Burke Campaneris, I think, was on the team then. I definitely want to mention a couple things I found out. I love just doing the research on this stuff. So, they decided to make him captain, and the A's were a slow up-and-coming young team. And they actually won the AL West from every year from 71 to 75. And also, I forgot Vida Blue, Joe Rooney. Oh, friend of the show, Raleigh Fingers. We had two friends of the shows who were on the A's during this period, Reggie and Raleigh.
That's
so there
right.
You go. And he reached his peak right as this team reached their peak. And I hope I can find the thing I love. So in 72, they made the World Series because they didn't make the World Series in 71. They lost to the Orioles, I believe. In 72, they beat the Tigers to get to the World Series, and they were playing the Reds. So this is what I love. This is, again, where you get to just, if people are super nerdy into baseball, just look up Saber, SABR.org. Like their research is fantastic. So these teams are considered pull off. So Cincinnati Reds, this is, I guess maybe that's not even really I guess it's kind of the start of the Big Red Machine. They've been the younger Johnny Bench. Pete Rose been 5-6 years into his career. So this series was called the Hares versus the Squares. So, the A's were called the Swinging A's, and they shunned baseball tradition by proudly sporting mustaches and beards. And Sal Bando said, "We got a $300 bonus for going to mustache." So I love like that. And I love, and they actually beat the Reds and won the World Series that year because, the Reds were so clean cut and all that stuff. And I thought it was kind of funny. But he also, at the same time, was very outspoken in talking about owner Charles Finley, about getting in Players Matters and lives, and there was no TV contract to air A's games in the Bay Area. And again, it's like, in general fan apathy, the A's won 3 World Series in a row. And it's still like, it's just like crickets, probably. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's really a shame because they're a fantastic team.
So, and this is kind of crazy. Like at the end of his career, Bando ranked 3rd in AL history with 1,896 career games at third base.
Wow.
Also ranked 4th in league history in assists, tied for 4th in double plays, and 10th in putouts. His 235 home runs as a third baseman ranked 3rd in AL history. 789 RBIs as an Oakland player was a record until Mark McGwire passed him in 1996. His 192 home runs with the team was a record for right-handed hitters in Oakland until Jose Canseco passed him in 91. He became
friend of the show, Jose Canseco.
That's right. And then he was also then he went to the Brewers and after his career, he was a special assistant to the Brewers before serving as a team's general manager from October 91 to August 99, which I forgot about as well.
That long being a GM. Wow. And not the Brewers are that great, but you're GM for 8 years. You're obviously doing an all right job.
Yeah, super respected in baseball, and he's been around baseball I've known his name ever since I knew baseball.
Yeah,
and his name has been around. So, salute to two fallen heroes of baseball. Tip of the cap.
Rest in power.